The bloopers, yeah.
I think the Nordics has great potential. We've seen the leading on open banking. We see adoption happening very strongly here. We're seeing new use cases. And I would even say sometimes we don't even see it because it's embedded in our daily lives. And I think that makes it even more powerful because you don't necessarily need to see it. You just experience that it's slicker.
Bart, thank you so much for welcoming us here at your offices. It's a really nice building and really nice to meet you as well.
Thank you very much. Very glad to have you here in the IA offices.
Wonderful. So let's just get started. But for those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, please tell us briefly just who you are and what you do.
So I'm Bart Willaert. I'm looking for Mastercard at Open Banking for our international markets. So that's everything outside of North America. Mm-hmm. Been with the company for 15 years, done very different roles in the markets. Actually, I'm quite passionate about the Nordics because I've been leading the Nordics for Mastercard for a few years. And more recently, joined different product roles in global digital roles, as well as in processing, and now since last year, open banking.
Okay, now payments has exploded with innovation over the past 12, 18 months. What's the role that open banking has played in this accelerated innovation in the market?
So I would say first that it's not just about payments, open banking. So to me, open banking is really a really great way for consumers to share their data in a safe, secure way with third parties. And that creates innovation and that creates new flows. And it's exactly those new flows which add value to the consumer, to small businesses. And for you to have a few ideas about it, it's, for instance, rather than having papers sent to your bank or sent to players when you're opening an account, you can actually do it with an open banking flow. Mm-hmm. When you're doing payments, to go back to payments, rather than going from one part of a flow, when you get a bill in your invoice, you get it in your digital mailbox, you can actually immediately pay it. So there's new flows, new use cases that are enabled by open banking. Payments is definitely a great use cases. Mm-hmm. But fundamentally, it's a real new ecosystem that exists, and where open banking allows for new players to come in, bring innovation, and bring that benefit back to the consumer and back to the businesses.
Right, okay. Now, open banking, at least in Europe, after PSD2, had a bit of a slow start. Why is it that Mastercard had such a visionary culture of really embracing open banking early on and making it part of its services?
Yeah, for us, we've indeed been for a while in open banking. I think in the first place because there is the opportunity. We believe that it's a really way for bringing innovation, to bring new use cases and more convenient ways for consumers to go through payments, as well as to open up new opportunities through open banking. So the opportunity is there. We've actually seen very concrete use cases already take off. Thinking about doing a payment that we talked about, the bill payment through open banking, or an e-commerce payment, that's happening right now. Very convenient experience, that's taking off. Same time, we've seen that actually there's ways for new consumers to participate and share their data when, for instance, they're doing a loan application. Mm-hmm. So credit decisioning using open banking for that is a very powerful use case, ticking off already today, both for consumers as well as small businesses. Mm-hmm. And lastly, we've seen use cases around opening up new accounts, and there open banking can play a really nice role to avoid a lot of paper exchanges. So the opportunity is there at the one hand, and I think what's great for Mastercard is that we actually believe we have a really powerful role to play because of our history in building out quality networks. Right. We've been doing networks since we started as Mastercard, and I think that gives us a really nice way to add value, do it in the right way. Focus on the quality, focus on the security for our consumers, but also for our customers, so that they can use a trusted network. Mm-hmm. And that's why we started in open banking, and we strongly believe in the value that it adds to the ecosystem.
Okay, now we speak regularly with hundreds of fintechs, of incumbents, and basically players across the entire ecosystem. And what we see is that the Nordics and the Baltics seem to be very advanced in terms of digitalization, the use of digital IDs. So open banking seems to have really taken hold of the region. Now, what's Mastercard's vision for the Nordics and beyond when it comes to the deployment of further services on open banking?
It's no surprise that we're today in the Nordics. I think the Nordics has always been a powerhouse for innovation. We've seen that in payments, our traditional business, the adoption of electronic payments, digital payments, mobile, and so I think this is a continuation of a really strong drive to make things and make life easier and better for consumers and businesses. And so I think the Nordics has great potential. We've seen the leading on open banking. We see adoption happening very strongly here. We're seeing new use cases. And I would even say sometimes we don't even see it because it's embedded in our daily lives. And I think that makes it even more powerful because you don't necessarily need to see it. You just experience that it's slicker. And so the Nordics will continue to be there. Clearly, with open banking, we're still in an early stage, so much more evolution to come, more use cases to come. But I think the Nordics is showing a very nice way on where we're headed. At the same time, I would also say markets like the UK are very well adopted, 7 million users using open banking, so very nice stats already. I think if we go beyond that, it's in a more nascent stage, but it's going there. And they're all looking at the benefits and they're looking at the Nordics. I'm actually meeting with customers from Australia, where open banking is already taking off as well, that coming to the Nordics to learn what's happening here, how it's happening in Europe, what's driving it, what benefits they can take as well. So I think it's showing the path and showing the leadership that this can bring.
Yeah, now let me double click on something you just said, because you're talking about how these services are becoming more and more embedded into customers' lives. And when I look at all the advancements that we've seen on the back of open banking, we have seamless, invisible, ubiquitous payments. It's almost something that is just expected to be there so that you can just go about your business and do your thing. But I often think, what else can be innovated on the back of this? And yet we hear that we're only just scratching the surface of what can be done with open banking. So what can we expect to see in the short term?
Yeah, I think in the short term, I think a key message to stand still is that it's happening already today. So it's not something that we need to wait for the next 20 years. It's happening today. Use cases are there. Innovation is happening. Consumers starting to see it, but there's much more runway. And I think a few things that will happen. And I think the first step that will happen is we'll get a lot more maturity in the quality that we're going to experience. Open banking is a new network, and as a new network you can experience that not everything is yet perfect at the start, but there's a very strong drive from the players in the system, as well as also from our regulators, to make this happen and to make it more secure, make it more slick, and make it more robust. And so I think that's the first step, getting the basics up there so that more innovation can actually take off. Secondly, I'm a very strong believer that we'll see much more adoption happening over the coming years. Use cases are there. Players are positioning themselves, but it's an early day. It takes a bit of time for consumers to use it, to try it out, and also for different partners to take the benefits of it. We see that happening every day. We've got new customers coming and wanting to use open banking. So I expect the adoption to increase significantly. And the third dimension is we have existing use cases, but that's a start. There is going to be much more use cases that are opening up in the existing data sets, but also with new data sets. The regulator is also thinking about broadening scope. We're moving away from just open banking to open finance, smart data. And so the end goal is definitely for consumers to have the right set of data and have that in their hands that they can share it. And for those opportunities to take benefit of it. And so I think we're scratching the surface because there's a long way ahead of us.
Yes, indeed. Now, tell us, why should fintechs consider partnering with Mastercard?
What a great question. I think there is so many reasons why I think Mastercard is a relevant actor here. And I think the first place I mentioned before, we started very early, and that's not by accident. Open banking is a core part of our strategy. We call it our third pillar. It's our new network, and we believe very much that there is strong value and innovation that we can participate in and that our customers can tap into. We want to be enabling that. But to enable that, to play in this network, you need to do it in the right way. And we've been very strong from the start in focusing on the quality. If you want to build a business on top of open banking, you need to be able to rely on the quality of the network underneath it. At the start, Aya started with their own application, the Spear app, where we're actually using today to test our quality in each of the markets that we're live. So we know it, we use it ourselves, we know what the quality is, we know where we can improve it. And so the quality is an important aspect for us and our customers. Now, the second thing is we're touching the data and the life of consumers and businesses. So how you do that matters. And we have a principle of doing everything in a data privacy compliant way. respecting people's data privacy. And so designing those products and services in the right way matters as well. So that doing it in the right way, I think, is an important aspect. Now, next to that, you need to bring and enable innovation. We're a network. We've been in the payments industry for the last 60 years. So bringing those knowledge and assets that we have to the open banking world is very relevant as well. And so I think that's a great benefit that our customers can tap into, because we're going to unlock those services also on the open banking side. Another reason why to look at Mastercard is we're the only player who's thinking it from a complete global perspective. With our assets in the US, with our presence in Australia and more markets, we're actually able to think and bring and leverage the experiences and the access across multiple regions. And I think that's to the benefit of our customers, because they're looking for partners who can deploy their services in multiple places. I think trust is going to play an important role in the ecosystem. And a brand plays a trust. We've been in the payments ecosystem for quite a few years, and I believe it does matter. And I think it can help bring customers along, that sharing their data in the right way, on the right quality way, is actually a good path forward, and they will be actually to adopt it much faster if they're looking for a trusted player in that perspective. And last but not least, we really love to partner. So I think we're a network. That means we're going to do certain things, but there's many things that we're not going to do. Not every innovation is built by Mastercard, luckily, but we have great partners that do innovate and where we're partnering up with to co-create. And so we're really looking forward also to the fintech forums to partner and invite customers to work with us and bring these innovations to their customers.
Yeah, indeed, and we are always very excited to see when these partnerships actually takes place, when Mastercard brings their capabilities, another company brings their innovation, and then just something magical happens, and it delights the customer, and it just continues to build on the excitement that is boiling here in the Nordics.
Exactly.
But Bart, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. Very, very exciting listening to what's coming down the pipeline, and we look forward to seeing Mastercard and your colleagues as well at Nordic Fintech Week.
Thank you very much.